Following the release of Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, Flagship co-developed another handheld Zelda game. Included with the Game Boy Advance re-release of A Link to the Past, The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords was released in North America in 2002 and elsewhere in 2003. As the first multiplayer game in the series, it was praised at the time, but I didn't play it until much later. Without further ado, let's take a look at The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords. 4 Swords begins with Link and Princess Zelda visiting the Four Swords Sanctuary. She explains that a mage named Vati is sealed within the sword, but he breaks free, captures Zelda, and escapes. Link draws the 4 sword from its pedestal, which splits him into 4 links, and the group sets out to find 3 great fairies who can help them to reach Vati's palace. Visually, 4 Swords is fairly impressive compared to the previous handheld games. The graphics are more detailed, with a new art style that's inspired by the next console game in the series. By comparison, the audio design is fairly underwhelming, with forgettable music and poor sound quality. Regarding the gameplay, 4 Swords is another top-down Zelda game with several stages instead of a traditional overworld. Initially, there are 3 levels consisting of 3 floors each. The first 2 floors are procedurally generated and feature different items that can be used to reach a warp zone to the next floor. The third floor has a predetermined layout with a boss encounter. After clearing a stage with over 1,000 rupees, a Great Fairy will give each Link a silver key. Once 3 silver keys are obtained in the main stages, the final level is unlocked. After reaching the ending once, there are additional rupee goals for obtaining golden keys and heroes keys, which unlock tougher variations of the final stage. In addition to the higher rupee requirements, bosses also have additional attacks when revisiting stages for the keys. Up to 4 players can work together to traverse each stage, collect rupees, and defeat enemies. Despite the game's cooperative focus, there are some competitive aspects. While keys are awarded based on the total number of rupees collected by the group, each player's individual rupees are also tallied. Whoever has the most at the end of a level receives a Medal of Courage, and collecting a specific number of medals unlocks bonus content in A Link to the Past. At the start of every stage, each Link has a sword and shield. Instead of accessing items through a menu, the shield can be swapped for additional items that are found on pedestals throughout each floor, and only 1 item can be carried at a time. Along with several returning items, like the bow and the magnetic glove, there are new items like the Nat Hat that temporarily shrinks Link. There are also several types of collectibles that can be found on most floors. A heart container can be found in each warp zone, but only 1 player can collect it, and each Link's maximum health resets to 6 hearts at the end of a stage. There are also 3 types of seeds that increase defense, movement speed, and attack power. Along with the standard variations of rupees with unique values, special rupee shards can also be found, and whoever collects 4 within a stage receives 500 rupees. If everyone has full health at the same time, rupees are worth double until someone takes damage. Additional rupees are also rewarded based on how long a floor takes. Rupees can also be dropped by collecting rupors or encountering a rupee rave. Rupees are also spent to revive players, and a game over occurs if there aren't enough rupees to revive someone. For the most part, the controls in 4 Swords are a bit better than in the Game Boy Color games, because of the additional buttons on the Game Boy Advance, and the simplified item system. The A button is dedicated to whichever item is currently equipped, so the sword is permanently tied to the B button, and the R button is used to pick up and throw objects or other players. Holding the L button displays a basic map of the current floor, and the number of seeds and rupee shards that have been collected. While 4 Swords is entertaining for its cooperative gameplay, playing it at all is difficult because of the lack of a single-player mode, and the amount of equipment that's required for the multiplayer. Each player needs a separate copy of the game, and multiple link cables are required for more than 2 players. Other issues include the short length of the game outside of collecting all of the keys, and the inconsistent difficulty because of the randomized level layouts. For the 25th anniversary of the series in 2011, 4 Swords was re-released for the Nintendo DSiWare service. The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Anniversary Edition is a free downloadable version that features local wireless multiplayer and a new single-player mode. In single-player, it's possible to switch between 2 links or control them together. The other link will automatically help to defeat enemies or complete puzzles that require cooperation, and certain bosses are reworked to be more manageable for one player. Some features aren't available in the single-player mode, like the rupee multiplier when all players are full health, and the medals of courage. There are also 2 new stages with 3 sets of non-randomized floors. The Realm of Memories is unlocked after finishing the main stages, and features areas that are based on earlier Zelda games. The Hero's Trial consists of challenging floors that are based on the main locations of 4 swords, and is unlocked by collecting 30,000 rupees in total, or 5 medals of courage. Completing these stages unlocks additional upgrades, like the Sword Beam technique from A Link to the Past. While 4 Swords Anniversary Edition is the definitive version for its additional features and content, it's no longer available to download. It was available between September 2011 and February 2012, and for a few days in 2014. There also isn't download play support, so each player needs to have the game installed. The single-player mode is flawed as well, because the higher rupee goals are difficult to reach without the full health multiplier. Overall, The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords is a fun experimental game, but it's difficult to recommend because there's no ideal way to play it. The original version requires multiple copies and accessories to even play the game, and the Anniversary Edition is limited to those who downloaded it when it was briefly available. As a bonus game or a free download, 4 Swords is an interesting attempt at a multiplayer Zelda game, but it's one of the less remarkable games in the series. Before I move on to the next Zelda game, I've decided to take another break from reviews for a bit. The next game in the series is fairly long, and I'd like to focus on some special projects for the end of the year. With that being said, thank you for watching, and when I return to the series, I'll be going over my very first Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.